Hey guys, welcome back to the Motorsport Videos YouTube channel, and today we're going to be doing F1 22 My Team Career Mode, episode 8 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in season 1. If you guys did miss the last episode, episode 7 for the British Grand Prix, where we got a good amount of points at that event, make sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hope you enjoy. Bye. So now, coming into qualifying, and at the start of the session, it was raining and a lot of drivers didn't even bother setting a lap. But then they went out because they thought it wouldn't stop raining for the whole section. But now, they're stuck in their garages, and we have an upper hand as we're out on this track now. We're P1 at the moment, we're bound to slip down to the table. So using third gear and second gear at turn 3. Going down the hill now, we're already 7 tenths up in our previous best time as Fernando Alonso sets the fastest time in his Alpine, looking racy at the moment. He sets a 1:06, and now qualifying is complete. 3 minutes for all drivers to get across the line, as Carlos Sainz sets a time of 1 minute 5.856 in the Ferrari. Now coming around turn 8, going down the hill to turn 9, Valtteri Bottas setting a fastest time. So is Lewis Hamilton going through turn 9 now, as we're 1.5 seconds up on our previous best. Going through turn 10, we arrive to the line 1.5 seconds quicker than our previous time. We will be starting the sprint from P5, a great result for us in qualifying. Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen not even getting out of their garages for the most part.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint, not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Magnussen, the owner driver, and Joe, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, and Mick Schumacher, Vettel, Latifi, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Perez, Russell, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll, Norris, Albon, Tsunoda and Liam Lawson. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
So the first ever Austria Grand Prix sprint is about to get underway as we head to 5 red lights for the Austrian sprinters. Lights out and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix sprint. Carlos Sainz looking to go around the outside of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton fighting as well, but Carlos Sainz gets that move done. Going up the hill now, through turn 2, up to turn 3. Carlos Sainz leading the way, but Lewis Hamilton has the inside line for turn 3. Griffin in the back, going for a move on Valtteri Bottas, gets the move done. And a bit of argy-bargy for Griffin as well. Griffin P3, Hamilton P2, as we see this man Carlos Sainz leading the way out front. Down the field we see George Russell, Nicholas Latifi, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc having bad starts, all the pair of them. As we look at Carlos Sainz about to finish the first lap ahead of the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. But I think Valtteri Bottas is in, he is. Valtteri Bottas dropping positions after a good start to the sprint. Made contact in lap 1, I'd imagine, and he's coming in to change his front wing with the Mercedes driver of George Russell. George Russell also changing his front wing, as you can see the Mercedes mechanics having a good pit stop for Russell with that damaged front wing, who will come out on top. Valtteri Bottas coming out of the pits ahead of Russell. Very sad to see that as well, but Carlos Sainz not even under pressure from 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, as we see Daniel Ricciardo and Kevin Magnussen fighting away. Ricciardo getting ahead of the Danish driver, as we're also seeing Fernando Alonso and Zhou Guanyu, the oldest and the youngest drivers in F1, having a scrap for themselves. A great scrap, may I add, from Zhou Guanyu, who's trying to catch up to the rear of that Alpine. He will have DRS assistance next lap. So as we go onto the main street, you can see Mick Schumacher and Verstappen having a fight, just like in real life. Now, Verstappen chasing after Mick Schumacher, P9 and P8. The battle for P8 continues as we switch to this battle. Fernando Alonso and Kevin Magnussen, two very experienced Formula 1 drivers, having a battle as well. But Zhou Guanyu has also been invited to this now, and Zhou Guanyu passed Fernando Alonso. we head down the hill now on lap 3 of 3. Carlos Sainz is still out in front from 7-time champion of the world, Lewis Hamilton. Kevin Magnussen P5, Daniel Ricciardo P4, P3 goes to Griffin, P2 to Lewis Hamilton, but Carlos Sainz Jr. Senior is a 3-time WRC champion, but Carlos Sainz comes across the line to win the Austrian Grand Prix sprint. Half the job is done for tomorrow, and Tony Griffin also going past the line with Daniel Ricciardo as main rival in P4. Kevin Magnussen, strong showing for Haas today. P4.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have the owner driver, Ricciardo, Kevin Magnussen and Joe, Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Verstappen and Pierre Gasly, Leclerc, Perez, Esteban Ocon and Albon, Norris, Stroll, Sebastian Vettel and Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Bottas, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into Turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Had a very dramatic sprint yesterday, and now we're going to have the main event, the Grand Prix on Sunday, as we hit the 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Carlos Sainz gets a good start, Lewis Hamilton doesn't, as we head down to the first corner with Lewis Hamilton. Daniel Ricciardo locking up and going across the grass. That allows Griffin to slip through in the middle. 1.5 seconds now to gap to Griffin, but he's gone up to P2 from starting P5. The great move by the Irishman. Zhou Guanyu P3 and Charles Leclerc looking to go up the inside of Fernando Alonso as we head up to Turn 3. Max Verstappen following him through as well, as we see Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll all going side by side. Going down into Turn 4 now with Lando Norris behind the Alpine of Ocon. Fernando Alonso P9 from Mick Schumacher is in P8, having a great race at the moment, just like he did in real life today. Carlos Sainz swiftly through the first lap with no issues whatsoever. Griffin chasing him down in P2, and who's that taking small bit of grass? It was Lewis Hamilton, and he's having a fight now with Daniel Ricciardo, P5 and P4. Zhou Guanyu is going to look up the inside of Tony Griffin. He's going to get that move done. No, he won't actually. Tony Griffin gets the move back done on him, and Daniel Ricciardo has got past the Chinese driver of Zhou, and now he's up into P3. Lewis Hamilton now also attacking Zhou, and Zhou could get the double whammy on lap 2. Now, Kevin Magnussen getting past Pierre Gasly in Haas of Kevin Magnussen. Now we push our attention to Griffin and Carlos Sainz Now 4 seconds leading the backmarker team of Motorsports Video's car with Griffin in P2. Carlos Sainz having a smooth race so far. Charles Leclerc getting good drive off of the final corner, chasing after Mick Schumacher, and I think he'll get the move done on Schumacher. Going down to turn 1, yes he will. Going down to turn 1, Charles Leclerc, the points leader, getting the move done. With DRS now actually going up the hill, he's only half done after turn 1. Now Verstappen also getting invited, the 2 championship leaders, down in P8 now, and Charles Leclerc is battling with Mick Schumacher for P8. I think he's got him. Charles Leclerc looking in his mirrors to see where Schumacher is, but Schumacher isn't giving up without a fight as Leclerc goes down the inside again, tries, and he gets that move done. But the 2 championship leaders down in P8 and P11. A bad showing from Din. It was still from their qualifying performance on Friday that has let them down. Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo and Tony Griffin all having a scrap. Griffin without DRS this whole lap and for the rest of the race, as he's far behind Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. As we look back now, and Fernando Alonso's in the pit lane. Now Fernando Alonso down in P21 from this front wing change. He was going well until, and Carlos Sainz passes the place where he retired from today, and he's smooth sailing now to the finish. The smooth operator on the Steiner ship, I can only imagine that. As we see Tony Griffin now under threat from Lewis Hamilton. Daniel Ricciardo just behind Hamilton as well. As we see Zhou Guanyu falling down the table, getting passed by Pierre Gasly, and that was not liked by Pierre Gasly, and that was not liked by Lewis Hamilton either, as he makes contact with the rear of Griffin, and Lewis Hamilton will be coming in for a front wing change. That'll promote Daniel Ricciardo into P3, but that's devastating for the 7-time world champion, making contact with the backmarker team of Motorsport Videos. And now that will be leaving Lewis Hamilton down in P20. Now we head on to lap 5 of 5. And now Carlos Sainz leading the way by nearly 9 seconds. Not surprising, as Griffin has a very slow car, the slowest actually of any car on the grid. As we see Lewis Hamilton exiting the pit lane at the moment. So Carlos Sainz led from start to finish, the same as he did from yesterday's sprint, and he's going to come through the final corners to win the Austrian Grand Prix sprint, the first of many. And Carlos Sainz comes across the line to win the Austrian sprint. 10 seconds the gap to Tony Griffin, and Tony Griffin now coming across the line with Daniel Ricciardo P3, P4 for Kevin Magnussen in the Haas, P5 for Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc P6, a good recovery drive from him.
Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Charles Leclerc showed exactly how to manage yourself out on the track today. He was almost flawless out there. Incredible stuff.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today were Williams, who make further progress up the table. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One, so sure to join us.